a second. There's just a little delay. So that's the Cloud Atlas. It's based on his photographic organization, and this classification system, along with photography and other technologies, has forever changed the way that clouds are seen and represented. The Cloud Atlas was based on the work of Luke Howard, whose 1802 lecture titled On the Modifications of Clouds was published in 1803, and it revolutionized the study of meteorology. His system was immediately popular, and it was reinforced through publications such as Thomas Forster's researches in atmospheric phenomena. This is a plate from it here, from 1823. And it was popular because he used a universalizing system with Latin names like Carl Linnaeus was using in naming the species. And our current system is basically very close to Howard's. It separates, his major innovation was separating clouds into categories by height. So you have low clouds around 5,000 feet, such as stratus, stratocumulus, and nimbostratus. You have middle clouds between 10,000 and 20,000 feet, including altostratus and altocumulus. And high clouds between 20,000 and 50,000 feet, including cirrus, cirrostratus, and cirrocumulus. While he first identified 6 categories, we now have 10. The principle to this at clouds, you can apply a limited number of categories, which can be further refined within that category by genus, variety, etc. So if you apply this system to Van Eyck's Ghent altarpiece from 1430, which is a fiction seed, you have cirrus, cumulus, cirrocumulus lacinosus, and altocumulus lenticularis. However, if things had shaken out differently historically, you might have had maritails, piled clouds, disc-shaped clouds of milky appearance, or flocks. What we're talking about is the history of cloud taxonomy, the practice and science of classification. And the first attempt to classify scientifically was in 1665 by Robert Hooke, who identified these categories: clear, checkered, hazy, thick, hairy, watered, waved, and low ring. And then a group of meteorologists under a Prussian prince came up with this system, like clouds and rock-like clouds. And at the same time, actually just before Luke Howard published his system, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck published a system using French names that were very descriptive, and it never caught on, partly because people preferred the Enlightenment ideal of a Latin universal language, and also because he kept adding categories to his system. So he published like 10 categories, and then a year later he published 10 more, and so he kept adding on to the infinite varieties of clouds, without kind of pulling it together in a scientific way. Another reaction to Howard's system came from John Bostock, who in 1810 decided that Howard's system wasn't English enough, and he felt this sense of ownership of the English landscape could be translated through by naming clouds in an English way, such as a feathered arc, tufts, and flocks, things that refer to the English ideal of pastoral landscape. And Ralph Abercrombie, the same compiled the photographs for the Cloud Atlas, actually compiled many of the different folkloric and early scientific names for clouds in a book. And you see some of them here. I'm not going to read all of them, but there's some really great ones. And we continue for taxonomy, this is an example of a classification system used by NASA over the desert landscape. So you have, cumulus over land differentiated from water cloud over land and dust over land. And even in the 1987 Cloud Atlas, there's a chapter at the back called Special Clouds that includes nacreous clouds, noctilucent clouds, clouds formed by jet contrails, clouds emitted by Victoria Falls, and clouds formed by volcanic eruption. So there's this idea that there's always another that escapes our ability to classify it. This is the apparatus cloud, which last year in 2009, Peter Pinney from the Cloud Appreciation Society was lobbying the Royal Meteorological Institute to recognize as a new type of cloud. It's like an undulating sky covering kind of rolling ceiling of cloud.